The morning air was cold and wet on the alien planet. Captain Lee Minho lay flat on his stomach behind a pile of rocks, looking through his rifle scope at the enemy line. The Zephyrians had built their defenses across the wide plain like a wall, of light and metal. Their energy shields glowed blue in the early light, and they're tall. Bug-like soldiers moved back and forth in perfect lines. Minho had been watching them for 6 days now. 6 long days of hiding in holes and trenches while the aliens shot at his men with weapons that made no sound but could burn through armor like paper. The plasma bolts left smoking holes in the ground where his soldiers had been just seconds before. Still counting them, sir? Sergeant Park Ji-woo crawled up beside him, keeping his head low. His uniform was dirty and torn, and there was dried blood on his sleeve from where shrapnel had cut him yesterday. Same as always, Minho said quietly. They never changed their pattern. Guard post every 50 meters. Patrol every 30 minutes. Like robots. Gi-woo spat in the dirt. Robots with better guns than us. That was the problem. The Zephyrians had studied human soldiers before this battle, so they knew how humans fought, what weapons they used, how they moved. The aliens had built their defenses to stop every trick the humans had tried so far. Energy weapons bounced off their shields. Missiles got shot down by their defense systems. Even their best snipers could not get through the barriers. Private Kim Dae-yoon slid into the observation post, carrying a metal box full of reports. She was young, maybe 20, with scared eyes that had seen too much fighting already. Sir, the morning count is in. We lost 3 more men last night to their patrol drones. Minho closed his eyes for a moment. 3 more names to add to the list. 3 more letters to write to families back on Earth. How many does that make? 47. Dead, sir. 23 wounded bad enough to need evacuation. The numbers hit him like a punch to the stomach. Almost a quarter of his company gone, and they had not moved the line forward even 1 meter. The Zephyrians sat behind their glowing walls, safe and comfortable, picking off humans whenever they tried to advance. What about supplies? He asked. Food for maybe 4 more days, water for 3. Medical supplies are almost gone. Da-yoon's voice was steady, but Minho could hear the fear underneath. They all knew what would happen if they could not break through soon. Minho looked through his scope again. The alien commander was standing on a raised platform, its 4 arms moving in precise gestures as it gave orders to its troops. The creature was tall and thin, with smooth gray skin that looked like metal. Its head was shaped like a triangle, with 3 eyes that could see in all directions at once. The commander never seemed worried. It moved with the confidence of someone who knew they were winning. Every morning, it would stand on that platform and survey the battlefield like a king looking over his kingdom. The other aliens followed its orders without question, moving in perfect formation like pieces on a chessboard. Look at them, Ji-woo said, following Minho's gaze. So sure they have us beat, it was true? The Zephyrians fought like they had already won. Their tactics were flawless, their technology superior, their discipline absolute. They had studied human warfare and found ways to counter every strategy in the book. Small unit tactics, air support, electronic warfare. The aliens had an answer. For everything. But Minho had been a soldier for 15 years. He had fought in 3 wars before this one, and he knew that confidence could be a weakness. The aliens were so sure of their superiority that they had stopped watching for new threats. They expected humans to keep doing the same things over and over, and when those things failed, they expected humans to give up. Sir Da-yoon said, the men are starting to talk. They want to know when we are going to try another assault. Minho could hear the doubt in her voice. The last 3 assaults had been disasters. Good soldiers had died running into weapons they could not fight, against defenses they could not break. The survivors were losing faith in their officers, in their mission, in themselves. Tell them to be patient, he said. Something is going to change soon. What do you mean, sir? Minho did not answer. He had heard rumors from the command post. Whispers about new orders, new weapons, new tactics. Colonel Nam was planning something, but he was keeping it secret from everyone, except his most trusted officers. The morning passed slowly. The aliens continued their patrols, their movements as predictable as clockwork. The human soldiers stayed hidden in their trenches, cleaning weapons and checking equipment, and trying not to think about home. The silence stretched across the battlefield like a blanket, broken only by the distant hum of alien machinery. As the sun climbed higher, Minho felt a change in the air. It was subtle, like the feeling before a thunderstorm. Something was coming. Something the aliens had not planned for. He smiled grimly and settled in to wait. The silence would not last much longer. Colonel Nam Hyenwoo stood in the underground command bunker, staring at the glowing map table that showed the enemy positions. The blue lights marked where the Zephyrians had built their defenses, and the red dots showed where his men were pinned. Down. Too many red dots had gone dark in the past week. The bunker was carved into the hillside behind the front lines, hidden from alien sensors by thick concrete and metal plating. Radio equipment lined the walls, crackling with reports from the battlefield. Officers moved quietly between the stations, their faces grim as they updated casualty reports and supply lists. "Show me what we know," Hyun was said to his intelligence officer. Lieutenant Kong Menesio activated the holographic display. Three-dimensional images of the alien defenses appeared above the table, showing every shield generator, every weapon, position, every patrol route. "They have studied our tactics, sir. Every time we try something new, they adapt within hours." Who knew nodded. He had been fighting aliens for 2 years now, ever since first contact had gone wrong and turned into a shooting war. The Zephyrians were smart, maybe smarter than humans in some ways. They learned fast, and they never made the same mistake twice. "What about their weaknesses?" he asked. "That is the problem, sir. They do not seem to have any. Their shields stop our energy weapons. Their point defense systems shoot down our missiles. Their sensors can detect our stealth technology. And their commanders are too smart to fall for our usual tricks." Major Song Yoon-ji stepped forward from where she had been studying a different set of displays. She was the artillery commander, a short woman with gray hair and steady hands who had been dropping shells on enemies for 20 years. "Sir, I think they missed something." Han-woo turned to her. "What do you mean?" "They have been studying our recent battles, our tactics from the last 5 years, but they have not looked at our older methods." She gestured to her displays, which showed technical specifications for different weapon systems. "Look at their intelligence reports." The hologram shifted to show captured alien documents translated into Korean. Page after page of analysis on human warfare, covering everything, from squad tactics to orbital bombardment. The aliens had been thorough, studying every human military operation they could find. "They know about our pulse rifles," Yoon-ji said, pointing to one section. "Our guided missiles, our electronic warfare systems. They've built defenses against all of it." "So what did they miss?" Hyen-woo asked. "Artillery, sir. Old-fashioned, chemical propulsion artillery. They dismissed it as primitive technology." Hyen-woo looked at the alien reports again. There it was, buried in a footnote. Human kinetic weapons show inefficient energy-to damage ratios. Recommend minimal defensive allocation. The aliens had looked at human artillery and decided it was not worth worrying about. "I think our cannons are outdated," Yoon-ji continued. "They have never seen what properly coordinated artillery can do. Their shields are designed to stop individual projectiles or energy beams, not sustained bombardment." Lieutenant Kong pulled up more intelligence data. "Sir, we have been monitoring their communications. They talk about human weapons like they are toys. They use words that translate to crude and inefficient when they discuss our kinetic systems." Hyen-woo felt a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Arrogance. It was the same weakness that had cost humans battles in the past. And now it might cost the aliens this one. "What do we have available?" 12 M777A3 howitzers, Yoon-ji said, reading from her tablet. 8 M270 rocket launchers, and 2 experimental railgun batteries that arrived yesterday. "Where are they positioned?" "Hidden in the hills behind our lines." The aliens have been scanning for energy signatures, but chemical propulsion weapons do not show up on their sensors. They have no idea we have heavy artillery in range. Hyen-woo studied the tactical display. The alien defenses were strong, but they were designed wrong. Like a castle built to withstand arrows when the enemy had cannons. "Can you coordinate a simultaneous strike?" Yes, sir. Can hit their shield generators and command posts at the same time. If their formation is too rigid, they will not be able to adapt fast enough. What about counter-battery fire? They do not have any, sir. Their doctrine does not include artillery warfare. They rely on air support and direct-fire weapons. It was almost too good to be true. The aliens had prepared for every kind of human attack except the oldest one. They had studied modern warfare and forgotten that sometimes the old ways were the best ways, Captain. Lee Min-ho's voice crackled over the radio from the front lines. Command, this is Alpha Company. The enemy is conducting their morning patrol. Same pattern as always. Copy that, Alpha. Stand by for new orders. Han-Wu looked around the bunker at his officers. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. Outside, his soldiers were dying slowly, picked off one by an enemy that seemed invincible. But now he had a chance to change that. Major Song, he said quietly, prepare your batteries. We attack at dawn. The bunker fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant sound of alien patrol craft. Tomorrow, the Zephyrians would learn that primitive weapons could be just as deadly as advanced ones, especially when used by people who knew how to use them properly. The assessment was complete. Now came the hard part. The darkness before dawn was complete when Major Song Yeonji checked her watch one last time. 346 hours. In 60 seconds, everything would change. She stood in the fire control center, a camouflage bunker built into the hillside 3 kilometers behind the front lines. Banks of computers showed targeting data, weather conditions, and ammunition counts. All batteries report ready, said Sergeant Otaman, the fire control specialist. His hands moved across the keyboard, making final adjustments to the firing solution. Wind speed 2 knots from the southeast. Temperature -3 degrees. All systems green. Round the hills, hidden under camouflage nets and in deep holes, the artillery crews waited at their guns. The howitzers sat silent and cold, their long barrels pointed toward the alien lines. The rocket launchers were loaded with cluster munitions. The railgun batteries hummed with stored electrical energy. 30 seconds, Yoonji announced into her headset. On the alien side of the battlefield, Commander Zixthera stood on his observation platform reviewing the night reports. His 3 eyes scanned the human positions through electronic sensors. The same defensive pattern, same weak probing attacks, the same ineffective tactics that had failed for 6 days. Status report, he commanded in his clicking language. All shields at maximum power, replied his weapons officer. Patrol drones have detected no unusual activity. The humans remain pinned in their positions. Zixthera felt satisfied. The humans were learning that their primitive weapons could not break Zephyrian defenses. Soon they would retreat or surrender. The battle would end without honor for the human soldiers. 10 seconds, Yunji said quietly. She could see the alien lines through her periscope. The blue glow of their energy shields stretched across the plain like a wall of light. Behind those shields, hundreds of alien soldiers moved in their perfect formations, confident in their superiority. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire. The hills exploded with light and sound. 12 howitzers fired at once, their muzzle flashes turning night into day. The shells screamed through the air, followed seconds later by rockets from the MLRS launchers. The railgun batteries discharged with crackling bolts of electricity, sending metal slugs at hypersonic speed toward the alien positions in the alien command center. Warning alarms suddenly filled the air. Zixthera's eyes widened as his sensors detected incoming projectiles. Not energy weapons, not guided missiles. Simple ballistic objects following parabolic trajectories. Kinetic bombardment, shouted his sensor operator. Multiple incoming. Impact in 12 seconds. 12 seconds. It's not enough time to recalibrate the shield generators. It's not enough time to move the formations. The Zephyrians had prepared for every kind of human attack except this one. The first shells were high explosive, rounds mixed with electromagnetic pulse warheads. They struck the alien shield generators with devastating effect. The railgun slugs arrived first, moving so fast they punched through the energy barriers like bullets through paper. The shields flickered and died in cascading failures. Then came the rockets. Hundreds of cluster munitions rained down on the alien positions, finding every gap in their defenses. The Zephyrians had built their fortifications to stop energy weapons, not explosive shells. Their perfect formations dissolved into chaos as metal fragments shredded through their ranks. The howitzer shells arrived last, but they were the most destructive. 155mm high-explosive rounds detonated among the alien troops with earth-shaking force. The ground trembled and cracked. Alien equipment flew through the air like toys. The precise, calculated movements of the Zephyrians turned into panicked running. Battery Alpha, shift fire 200 meters north, Yunji commanded calmly. Battery Bravo, continuous fire on grid 774. The thunder rolled across the plains as the artillery kept firing. Shell after shell screamed through the morning air. The alien positions that had seemed so solid, so impenetrable, began to crumble like sandcastles hit by waves. Sixthera tried to coordinate a response, but his communication systems were damaged by the EMP warheads. His shield generators were destroyed. His weapons platforms were buried under smoking debris. Humans were using weapons his forces had never encountered in actual combat. Counter battery fire, he ordered, but his artillery officer looked confused. Sir, we have no counter battery protocols. Our doctrine does not include defense against kinetic bombardment. The alien commander felt something he had never experienced before: fear. His technological superiority meant nothing when the enemy used weapons his people had dismissed as primitive. The human shells kept falling, turning his perfect defenses into a smoking wasteland. Retreat to secondary positions, he finally commanded. But there were no secondary positions. The Zephyrians had been so confident in their main line that they had not built fallback defenses. The artillery barrage had caught them completely unprepared. On the human side, Captain Lee Minho watched the bombardment through his binoculars. The alien lines were disappearing in clouds of smoke and dust. The blue glow of their energy shields had been replaced by the orange flicker of fires. "Look at that," whispered Sergeant Park Ji-woo. "Our running, it was true?" The disciplined alien formations were breaking apart. Some Zephyrians tried to maintain their positions, but the constant shelling made it impossible. Others fled toward the rear, abandoning their weapons and equipment. The thunder continued to roll across the battlefield. After 6 days of silence, human artillery was finally speaking. And the aliens were learning that sometimes the oldest weapons were the most effective ones. The artillery barrage had been going for 20 minutes when Captain Lee Minho got the order to advance. Smoke and dust covered the alien positions like a thick fog. The sound of exploding shells mixed with the screams of damaged alien equipment, and the strange clicking noises the Zephyrians made when they were hurt. "Alpha Company, this is it," Minho shouted into his radio. "First squad takes the left side. Second squad goes up the middle. Third squad covers the right flank. Stay low, and watch for survivors." His soldiers had been waiting in their trenches for this moment. For 6 days they had been targets, hiding from alien weapons while their friends died around them. Now it was their turn to attack. They climbed out of their holes with grim faces and ready weapons. Sergeant Park Ji-woo led first squad across the broken ground. The alien energy shields that had glowed so brightly just minutes before were now dark and twisted metal. Pieces of Zephyrian equipment lay scattered everywhere, some still sparking with electrical fires. "Movement ahead," shouted Private Kim Da-yoon, pointing her rifle at a pile of debris. A wounded alien soldier crawled out from behind a destroyed shield generator. Its gray skin was burned and bleeding, and one of its 4 arms hung uselessly at its side. The creature looked up at the approaching humans with its 3 eyes wide with fear. "Surrender," it said in broken Korean, the words coming from a small translation device on its chest. Recalibration needed. Kinetic warfare, not in database. Gi-woo kept his weapon trained on the alien but did not shoot. "What do we do with it?" "Tie it up and leave it for the medics," Minho replied over the radio. "Keep moving. There are more out there." The advance continued through the smoking ruins of the alien defenses. What had been a perfect military formation was now a landscape of craters and twisted metal. The artillery had done its job too well. Most of the alien positions were completely destroyed, but not all of them. "Contact front," yelled Corporal Yoon Sung-ho from 2nd Squad. Enemy troops in the communication bunker. A group of Zephyrians had survived the bombardment by hiding in a reinforced shelter. They were trying to set up a defensive position with their energy weapons, but their movements were panicked and uncoordinated. The perfect discipline that had made them so dangerous was gone. Flank them from the right, Minho ordered. 3rd Squad, give us covering fire. The battle was different now. Instead of attacking impregnable positions, the humans were fighting confused and frightened aliens who had lost their technological advantage. The Zephyrians still had better weapons, but they did not know how to use them when everything was chaos. Private Lee Jong-soo threw a grenade into the alien bunker. The explosion was followed by more of those strange clicking sounds. When the smoke cleared, the surviving aliens came out with their hands raised, their translation devices broadcasting surrender messages. Tactical superiority compromised. One of them said, "Human doctrine requires reassessment. Primitive weapons highly effective when properly coordinated." More human soldiers poured through the gaps in the alien line. Companies that had been pinned down for days were now advancing rapidly across ground that had seemed impossible to take. The aliens fell back in complete disorder, their commanders unable to coordinate a proper retreat. Captain Park So-young's Bravo Company attacked from the north, overrunning an alien supply depot. The Zephyrians there had been preparing to resupply their frontline troops when the artillery struck. Now they were trapped with nowhere to run. "We have got something big here," So-young reported over the radio. "Looks like their main communication." Center Minho changed direction to check out the find. The alien communication center was a massive structure that had been partially buried by the bombardment. Inside, banks of alien computers were still working, their screens showing tactical displays and unit positions. "Can anyone read this?" I asked. Private Kim Da-yoon had studied alien languages in training. She looked at the screens with growing amazement. "Sir, these are their battle plans. They show everything, their troop positions, their supply lines, their retreat routes. What do they say about us?" Da-yoon read the alien text slowly. "They classify our weapons as primitive kinetic systems with low threat priority. They allocated only 5% of their defensive resources to counter artillery attacks." Minho shook his head. 5%. The aliens had been so confident in their technological superiority that they had barely prepared for the one weapon that could defeat them. Their arrogance had cost them the battle. The advance continued for another hour. By the time the sun was fully up, the human forces had broken through the alien line completely. The Zephyrians were in full retreat, abandoning equipment and supplies as they ran. "All units, this is command," came Colonel Nam's voice over the radio. "Objective secured. The enemy line is broken. Prepare for pursuit operations." Minho stood on what had been the alien command platform, looking out over the battlefield. The plains were covered with the wreckage of alien defenses and the bodies of enemy soldiers. In the distance, he could see the last of the Zephyrians disappearing over the horizon. His radio crackled with reports from other units, hundreds of alien prisoners, tons of captured equipment, intelligence data that would help win the war. The silence had been broken by human artillery, and now the aliens were learning that primitive weapons could be just as deadly as advanced ones. 3 hours after the artillery barrage began, Colonel Nam Hoanwoo walked through the ruins of the alien command center. His boots crunched on broken glass and twisted metal. The air still smelled of smoke and burned electronics. Where once there had been perfect rows of alien equipment, now there were only scattered pieces and empty craters. The Zephyrian command post had been built like a fortress, thick walls and advanced technology. But human shells had torn through it like paper. The roof had collapsed, and alien computers lay smashed on the floor. Some of the machines were still working, their screens flickering with data that no longer mattered. "Sir, you need to see this," said Major Song Yoon-ji, pointing to a bank of undamaged monitors. The screens showed the alien battle plans from before the attack. Lists of human weapons marked with threat levels. Artillery was labeled as primitive, technology with a green low priority rating. Haiyan Wu read the alien text with the help of his translator device. The Zephyrians had studied human warfare for months, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had looked at modern battles and ignored the lessons of older wars. They thought kinetic weapons were outdated relics, inefficient energy to damage. Ratios, he read aloud. Minimal defensive allocation recommended. The aliens had assigned only a handful of their forces to watch for artillery attacks. Their whole defense plan was wrong, Yunji said. They built everything to stop energy weapons and guided missiles. They never considered that we might use simple shells and rockets. A communication officer approached with a tablet. Sir, we are intercepting alien transmissions. They are reporting to their high command about the battle. Haiyan Wu took the tablet and listened to the translated message. The mechanical voice of the computer spoke in flat, emotionless tones. Human warfare. Doctrine requires complete reassessment. Kinetic weapons demonstrate unexpected effectiveness when properly coordinated. Recommend immediate tactical recalibration and cessation of current offensive operations. The message continued with technical details about shell trajectories and blast patterns. The aliens were trying to understand what had happened to them. They'd been so confident in their superiority that the defeat had shocked them completely. They are scared, said Captain Lee Minho, joining the group. His uniform was dirty from the advance, but his eyes were bright with victory. I've never seen aliens run like that before. Any word on casualties? Haiyan Wu asked, surprisingly. Light on our side, sir. 12 wounded, none killed during the advance. The aliens lost over 300 soldiers and left behind most of their equipment. It was a complete reversal from the past week. Humans had been losing men every day to alien weapons they could not counter. The aliens were the ones running away, abandoning positions they had held for months. Private Kim Dae-yoon approached. With a group of alien prisoners, the Zephyrians walked slowly, their heads down, their translation devices broadcasting surrender messages. They looked nothing like the confident soldiers who had dominated the battlefield just hours before. Sir, this one says he is a commander, Dae-yoon reported, pointing to a tall alien with more elaborate armor. He wants to talk. The alien commander stepped forward, its three eyes focused on Haiyan Wu. When it spoke, the translation device on its chest converted the clicking sounds into Korean words. You fight differently than our intelligence predicted, the alien said. Our combat algorithms did not account for sustained kinetic bombardment. Your weapons appear primitive, but your tactics are sophisticated. You studied the wrong battles, Haiyan Wu replied. You looked at our recent wars and missed the older. Lessons explain. Artillery has been winning battles for over a century. Your people focused on our newest weapons and forgot about our most effective ones. The alien commander's head tilted in what might have been confusion or respect. We calculated that energy weapons were more efficient. Chemical explosives seemed wasteful. Efficiency is not the same as effectiveness, Haiyan Wu said. Sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones. More reports came in throughout the day. The alien forces were retreating all along the front lines. Other human units were advancing rapidly, taking positions that had been contested for weeks. The entire war situation was changing. Lieutenant Kong Minesco brought updates from the intelligence section. Sir, we have decoded more alien communications. They are pulling back to their main base and requesting reinforcements from other star systems. What about their assessment of our capabilities? They are completely revising their threat analysis. Artillery is now classified as a high priority threat. They are also requesting information about other human primitive weapons that might be more dangerous than expected. Haiyan Wu smiled. The aliens were learning that technological superiority meant nothing if you did not understand your enemy properly. They had dismissed human artillery as outdated. That mistake had cost them the battle. As the sun set over the battlefield, he stood where the alien command platform used to be. The planes were quiet again, but it was a different kind of silence. Not the tense quiet of a standoff, but the peaceful silence that came after victory. The Zephyrians had been so sure of their advanced technology that they had forgotten the basic rule of warfare. The best weapon is the one that works. Human artillery had worked very well indeed. In the distance, he could see the lights of the alien base where they were regrouping. They would be back eventually, but next time they would be prepared for human artillery. That meant the humans. would need to find a new surprise. The war was far from over, but today belonged to the humans. And sometimes, one good day was enough to change everything.